Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
Hey, I like your new RAV4.
Thanks, yours too.
What does RAV stand for anyway?
To me, it's the Remarkably Advanced Vehicle.
Really? To me, it's the Runway Approved Vehicle for its amazing style.
What about Remarkably Adaptable Vehicle because of its versatile cargo space?
Or Really Admired Vehicle?
Oh, or Really Awesome Vehicle.
It really is the recreational activity vehicle. The stylish 2026 Toyota RAV4 Limited. What's your RAV4?
All right, welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass podcast with Ethan and Chuck. Now you're saying Ethan and Chuck. Wait, what happened to Kevin? Now you're starting to actually think back and you're like, I didn't even hear Kevin last week. Well, guess what? That's because Kevin wasn't there last week and he's not here this week. Who knows? He's off playing games, climbing mountains.
Fortnite?
Is that what it is?
That's what the kids are playing these days.
All right. I know Ramadan's a big thing. Maybe that's what's got him. I don't know. But you'll find out. When he comes back, we'll get to the bottom of it. But anyway, bottom line, we're going to talk about tiny houses, living in the woods, off-grid, maybe even outbuildings a little bit. Just basically, other kinds of shelter, cheap options, what it's like to live with less, things like that. If you remember way back, we actually had Ethan commenting and talking a little bit, and we talked about actually I was helping him build a tiny house, and so now he's going to share some of those insights with us. I thought, hey, it's a great opportunity to bring him in and see if we can get some knowledge outside of the home team. Maybe you guys want to hear something a little bit different. So, Ethan, you live in a tiny house. What's the story?
Yeah, I mean, people on the internet say I'm one step above homeless, but, I'm living like a king.
Like a king?
Like a king.
So you're not paying rent?
Not paying rent. That's one.
And when you plug into my extension cord, you're not paying electricity.
I'm paying electricity. My house bills are pretty low.
Pretty low when you steal my Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I mean, it's all covered.
Living the dream.
Yeah, so basically, a tiny house is like a small micro shelter that the tiny house I have is on wheels.
Okay.
So it's mobile.
So what you're saying is you live in a camper.
It's essentially like a camper or something.
All
I mean, where do we want to start with this? I mean, there's so many places to start.
All right, no, settle down. We don't need to get excited.
I have set up
Notes?
if people are interested in possibly getting a tiny house or going that route, I have a few different steps that they can take, and we can talk about that.
All right. So I guess here's what we do. We're going to talk about tiny houses specifically, your stuff, what it's like, and then we'll kind of expand and jump into, how we might apply that to an off-grid lifestyle and bug out location and stuff like that. So yours got like a trailer?
Yeah, I mean, our first step was getting a trailer. Well, basically, if you're interested in having a micro shelter, whether it be for emergencies or maybe you just want a little place for the kids to hang out. But I think what the audience here would be most interested in is if something happens to my house, I have a place where my family can stay temporarily or long term.
I guess it'd be nice to build your cabin in the woods in your yard on the weekends and in the evenings, and then just drive it out to the woods. That might make life easy for some of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great option.
What? So you're able to live and survive in a tiny place? So that's what you're telling me? People have done it
It's
for
possible.
years?
It's possible. I'm here to say that I've done it and I'm still alive.
Now, what is tiny?
So tiny, they can get pretty small, but I think a manageable size that's reasonable. My trailer is 8 by 20.
8 by 20.
Yeah, so 8 feet by 20 feet. I think that's a manageable size. I think it's comfortable for 1 to 2 people, definitely. If you had to, I think you could get like a family of 4 in there if you had to. Right now, currently, me and my girlfriend live in there, and we live in there comfortably. Plus, we have 2 cats. I mean, you might as well throw in a kid in there, like as far as...
Well,
I think 2
a
cats
litter
is worth
box
1 kid.
is equal to a kid.
That's what I'm saying. So I think if you had to, you could do 4. But I would recommend, closer to 2. Yeah, so that's about the size.
Right.
And the cost. I think cost is another thing that we could talk about. I'd say the cost for our tiny house.
Well,
now our
you
tiny
looked
house,
at trailers. What does a trailer cost? Before we get to the total.
Yeah, before we get to the total, let's build up there. So yeah, the first thing that you need is a foundation for your tiny house. Tiny house on wheels. So we need to get a trailer. We looked on Craigslist.
It's got to
shopped
handle
around
some
a lot.
weight.
It's got to handle some weight. This was a utility trailer, construction, big.
Carries a backhoe. It can carry your house, right?
Carry the house, yeah. So we found one. You got to shop around. We found one it was only $1,000.
Now, I would say it's very realistic. Pretty much anywhere you are, you could find one for about 15 or less.
Yeah. I mean, with anything you're shopping for, like on Craigslist and stuff, you got to shop around, You got to wait for the right one, We were looking around for a few months, and we found one for, you could definitely get one for less than $2,000. Now, they have specific trailers that are specifically built for tiny houses. But because it's custom, because it's... tailor-made, they're a lot more expensive. You're dropping at least $5,000, and most of the time they can't. I mean, if not all the time, they're not going to be able to handle the weight that like a utility trailer can tow. Now, the pros, though, if you did go this way, they're a lot smaller. It would require
they're not
less
as high off the ground.
Yep, not as high off the ground.
So
which
you can have
we'll
more
get into.
height into the house.
Yeah,
which
we can
is
get into
nice.
that. And also, it would be lighter too. So. Possibly a smaller truck would be able to tow your house if you built your house real light.
All right, not bad.
So there's that.
Yeah, you got to think about what materials you're putting into it when you're building. All this stuff's going to matter.
Yep.
We can enjoy the fire department nice and loud.
Oh, I thought the Germans were invading or something.
Air raid sirens?
Yeah. Blitzkrieg. Yeah.
Maybe we wait. I don't know. It's awkward. Yeah, let me shut the door. How about that?
All right. There we go. It's a little bit better.
Now you can't hear anything.
It's a little bit better.
All right. So, anyway.
So, yeah. The trailer is going to be your foundation for everything. This is what you're building your house on. You want something that's decent quality, but it doesn't have to be brand new. Just something that's going to withstand time and make sure everything kind of works on there. The lights, the brake lights, everything like that. Make sure all that stuff works because you don't want to build an entire house on this and then find out that you have to replace tires or whatever it may be, It's just something to think about. But
now 2x4 frame. All right. So we said trailers about $1,500. So all or $1,000 you got away with.
Yeah.
So
we got it for $1,000
all
even.
in. Now I see on these TV shows they're saying like 50 grand, 40 grand, 70 grand for these tiny. Now they look pretty nice.
They look very nice.
They look very nice.
Very nice.
Now, and they usually have like cedar siding inside.
Yeah,
nice trim, nice custom, everything picked out. The windows are just the right size to fit.
Yep. I think that number range is super huge for when building a tiny house. And also, I think that high number of 50,000, that's something that gets thrown around a lot if you watch like these tiny house shows and stuff like that.
Right.
And that can be really intimidating for people.
It's
people
intimidating
go,
to me.
yeah, people go, whoa, 50 grand, man. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. I can buy a house.
You can
for
buy
50 grand.
regular size house for 50 grand.
Grown up size.
So you shouldn't be, that is if you want brand new everything, if you want custom everything, if you want everything like that, and you're hiring someone else to do the labor, it's going to run you up to 50,000, whatever. But if you are willing to reuse materials, if you're able to get free materials on the side of the road, off Craigslist, things like that, you could manage to get this house. I mean, it for my tiny house, it was around 10,000, as opposed to 50,000. About 10,000. I mean, but that includes a few extra things, utilities, like the wood stove, that we bought for it, mini fridge stove, all that stuff is kind of in that 10,000.
All right.
So, I mean, but I think a reasonable price that you can probably get it down to, if you were going to go bare bones minimum and try and reuse as much as possible, you could get it closer to like 6,000.
I think that's right.
I think that's fairly reasonable to get it closer to 6.
And, it's over time. You do it as you're building it and whatever. Obviously, anybody who's ever built anything, you want to. Once you lay out the wood, you want to be able to get a roof on there quick so stuff's protected and doesn't get damaged by the rain. So you got to be prepared with like an initial investment to lay out, but it works out pretty good. Whenever you're building something like this, if you want it to be movable, you need to think about weight. You need to, we did a lot of like 2x3s, or are they 2x4? I guess it's all 2x4.
It's 2x4, yeah.
All right,
Everything's
2x4. I think maybe the loft or something we went with smaller wood. I don't know. Whatever.
It's possible. But weight is something to think about, and then also height is another thing to think about. The dimensions of it. You have to look up, in your state and everything. The dimensions kind of vary a little bit, but for the most part, I mean, New York is the most strict, and that's where we are. As far as we know, it's pretty much the most strict. 13 feet and 6 inches is as high as it can go. 14 feet, in some places you can do that, but to be safe, you want to do 13. And
if you ever want to move it anywhere that,
Yeah, you want to do 13.6. There's like designated roads that allow 14 feet, but you want to do 13.6 just to be safe. Now, the reason we were talking about earlier, the trailer kind of comes into play there. They sell specific trailers that are real low to the ground. If you get a utility or trailer or something, it could be up high, which mine is, and that cuts off from like the height of your house that you're building on top of this trailer. You have to take that into consideration. So the dimensions, like I said, on my house are 8x20, and then the height 13 feet 6 inches. So that's just one thing to consider when you're building the house, and that kind of brings me to like the steps into building a tiny house. Number one is research. You got to do research before you take this on, and we're talking about price as research. We're talking about going onto YouTube and watching there's so many YouTube videos on tiny houses and other people that have done it. You want to watch as many of those as you can, and you want to start picking out things that you want for your micro shelter, things that you want for your tiny house. Whether that be design, whether that be, I like how, I like this wood stove that this, these people used in this video. And you start marking that down. You start doing a little research, maybe finding a link to that product and making a little document, That's what we did. We just started accumulating documents on like Google Doc and just accumulating links to different products. I would screenshot different pictures of stuff, just ideas on different other people's, you're standing on the shoulders of giants, no pun intended on this tiny house episode, but you don't have to do this all alone. A lot of other people have done it, and you can learn from their mistakes and from their accomplishments. and little victories. So you want to do a lot of research on this.
Nice.
I can't tell you how many YouTube videos we watched before we fully committed to like the design, and the design is always going to change a little bit. You know, you're going to keep, you know, watching new things, learning new things until you start putting things together. Which brings me to step 2, which is planning and designing. What we did is we basically just kind of mapped out how we wanted the tiny house to look.
Oh, there were definitely blueprints.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we drew them.
Yeah. So we would draw. Well, my girlfriend actually, like, on Excel, she would just, you know, on that grid paper, the black paper, she would just make different, she was color-coded, but she would make, like, you know, each block is a foot, say. So then you can be like, well, we know that we want the bathroom to be 3 by 8, so that's a block there. And then we want this to be there. And you just want to kind of size it out. And this size that we did, I believe is... The bathroom was 3 by 8. The kitchen, I think, was about 6 by 8, something around there. I don't know the exact dimensions, but you want to plan that all out. You want to know the exact dimensions before you start building,
Right?
Is what I'm saying. And then if you can possibly, some places have like tiny houses that you can go rent. At like Airbnb tiny house, or there might be a company that builds tiny houses near where you live. It's not uncommon. And if you can physically get yourself into one, just to get a feel for it and an idea, there's a company that builds tiny houses not far from here. We went by, we were able to go inside one and just see how it feels, the placement of stuff. We actually didn't like the design in that one. They didn't have a loft for the bed, which is, you know, you need a loft for the bed.
Down a lot.
Yeah. In my opinion, you need a loft for the bed.
All right.
So, and I wouldn't have, it wouldn't have been solidified that needs to happen if I didn't go there and physically be in there. So if you can, go check it out and see. So you're planning and you're designing, and then you want to budget everything out. You start with all those things, all those products that you were looking at with the research,
you add
the
up
building
your
2x4s,
and your, you know the spacing, because obviously you've done some kind of building, or you wouldn't be taking this on. You have to have an idea, you know, so every 16 inches you got a stud, or
So
you
you
know,
start
things like that. You can do your square feet of the roof, and
exactly. You start figuring out how much materials you need as far as wood, and then you could start, you know, go on Lowe's.com or Home Depot or whatever, and start figuring out how much this is going to cost, how much material you're actually going to need. And then once you get all that, then you're about ready to go get those materials and start building on your trailer. Now, I don't know if we can recommend. I know there's a lot. I don't know if we can recommend that you personally go and build your thing, but you know, it's not that hard.
If you built a shed,
you've built a shed,
you know,
before,
you can build, you know, whatever.
You know, we're not saying,
And
hey,
anybody
go do
can
this,
learn, but you know, it depends how much fighting you're going to do.
If you're a handyman, you got a background in construction, anything of that, definitely go for it. But if you feel a little uncomfortable, you're not sure about things, you can always go talk to that handyman, you know, the construction worker, you know, maybe a construction company or tiny house company that can build this for you, and you can work with them. That's not a bad option either. It's going to cost a little bit more if you don't know it, you know, yourself, but it's not a bad option, because then you'll have something quality, something that will last, and, you know, that's pretty much it.
All right. No, sounds good. Looks like you got a list of pros and cons.
Yeah, I got a little bit of pros
Or
and
am I
cons.
getting
I
ahead
had
of
some
you?
experience.
You're good?
Let's see. Oh, another thing, you know, stuff that you should be thinking about is like, how do you want to heat your house? You know, where are you putting this micro shelter? Where do you live in the United States or
If you're not
anywhere in the
heating it,
world?
you might need air conditioning.
Yeah, I mean, if you live in Tucson, Arizona, it's a
can
little
get
bit.
hot.
You have different necessities than if you lived in Washington. You know, it's based off your needs on what you're thinking. So think about heat / cooling. You know, think about.
Now you had a propane heater, and you're in the Northeast. How'd that
Correct.
go this winter?
Yeah, so we chose something a little bit different. we were gonna do a wood stove,
Right.
And then as we were building and stuff, winter kind of came before we can get that situated. So we kind of took a second option, and we got a propane heater. And it's a ventless propane heater, but everywhere I looked said that it was safe indoors and you can run it.
You're not dead,
and I'm not dead.
You're not
dead.
So a little bit dumber, maybe.
I don't know.
No, you're feeling confident.
Possibly, I don't know.
All right.
So we got the Mr. Heater. They have like a big version and a medium version. We got the medium version. I mounted it on the wall. Made sure that it was clear of everything, and ran a propane hose from the inside to the outside to a how big are those gallon tanks?
They're regular barbecue tanks.
Yeah, just so like
they're 13 gallons.
Yeah. So just a regular barbecue propane tank. And yeah, it actually worked out really well. Didn't really have any issues that I noticed. The only thing with this specific heater, sometimes when you would have it on the low setting, there would be like a high pitched squeal because of there was like just air in the whatever it may be. But that was the only issue.
All right,
Everything else, like it heated the house really well. It was cheap.
I like cheap.
Definitely cheaper than doing like oil in your normal house, heating it. And you got to think this is a micro shelter, so you don't need a lot to heat up one room, as opposed to an entire house. So it's a lot cheaper. And that's another thing that you got to think about with this is the expenses are a lot less. Once you get it all built and everything, the expenses are going to be a lot less than what it would be in a big house. You're only have to provide for a fraction of what you're providing for in a normal size house.
Nice.
And then how do you? Yeah.
I was gonna say like hot water heater. What'd you do there?
Hot water heater. We actually got a small hot water heater, a ductless. No.
Not a vent.
Yeah, a vent. Just a small hot water
Tankless.
heater. Yes, it was a tankless hot water heater because it was that tiny.
So it's that instant, on demand kind of thing.
Yes.
What'd that set you back?
I believe the one we got was around 400 or so.
That's a little pricey.
It's a decent amount of money. And to be honest, we haven't been using the hot water heater. In the winter, we kind of just winterized the home and didn't really use water.
All right, that leads us to how are you flushing toilets? What's happening there?
There you go. So, yeah, I mean, it just wasn't right for us to do that. We didn't have the right setup to do water. So, how did we manage? How did,
Sounds like you'd die.
Yeah. Well, if you live on your parents' property, it's not too bad.
No.
Composting toilet. It's what we're leading up to right now. Composting toilet is real easy.
Now I look at composting toilets and they're like $2,000.
Yeah, I mean, if you search on Amazon, you type in composting toilet, the first one that comes up, it's definitely more. It's more than $1,000.
Okay.
You don't need that. The simplest version of a composting toilet and the easiest and the best is we built a little bench. A little wooden bench, and then in that wooden bench was a bucket, and you do your business into that bucket, As long as you put wood shavings, we would take a bucket, put wood shavings, do our business, throw some more wood shavings on there, and keep doing that process until the bucket gets full. Take it out to your compost
And you
heap.
waited till this bucket was full?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then
you don't
carried
want it to be like to the
giant-
brim,
giant bucket of
You don't want it
booze?
to be to the brim, like a little more than 3/4 full, whatever you think. And then you take that out to your compost heap. Now we have a specific compost heap that's just this.
Now, before you guys think I'm a hack and you heard him say, well, the water didn't work out, basically the way we set it up is the whole house is plumbed where, water coming in and then the drains just kind of drop out of the house and can connect to a hose connection to take it away to put into a septic or whatever you want to do with it. But basically the way it is we have it so you can hook a hose to the side of the house and turn it on and there's water. And we also put is it 50 gallon?
Something like that.
A 30 to 50 gallon water tank inside the house. So they can carry around 30 gallons, but you have limited water pressure. You might have to add, a second pump if you really wanted, pressure if you weren't connected to an outside source. So that was basically the deal. But since we can't have hoses running across the lawn in the Northeast, then, we figured it was just easier to shut it down for the winter rather than, keep it going. But, there's definitely options. It's all wired like in a regular house. What I actually did was bought a small panel box, and instead of doing, I think we put a 220 breaker at the beginning, but then we ran just so it connects to a 110 extension cord, and we wired it to both sides of the panel, and it's worked out that way so far. We've never tripped a breaker or had a problem, but even so, it is set up with the box so that if it ever gets connected to connected to the grid kind of situation, you would be able to do 220 right to it and wire the house that way. So I don't know. That's how we did that. What else you got? Cooking. What'd you do for cooking?
Yeah, we like to cook, like everyone does. You got to make your meals at home. So we just got a propane stove, a 4-burner, one of those like camping stoves.
Something like that cost you. Now this propane hooks to like a big barbecue tank as
Once
well.
again, yeah.
So what we did was we put a splitter and ran it to each of the things, but obviously since in the winter he was using a lot more heat, that had a direct line to the heater. But then the water heater and the stove could share a tank and things like that.
Yeah, we were able to run propane lines through the walls, and then drill them out. So this is just a 4-burner camping propane stove. It was $50.
Nice. I like $50.
Yeah, real cheap. It's worked out really well. We've never had any issues with it, and it's a 4. So you don't need more than 4 burners. So, yeah, that's been working out really well.
The other thing with all this propane inside, we ended up carbon monoxide detectors, smoke alarms. These things are not really just nice to have, especially when you're running gas in your house.
Yeah, as far as safety goes, you want to do, as much safety as you can, just like a normal house. You want your fire extinguishers, you want your smoke alarms, everything like that. Everything should be square and up to go. Now, that kind of also, talking about safety and everything, it kind of brings me to like the legality of tiny houses and stuff like that. As long as you own property and if you have a regular house already, then you building a tiny house and even somebody living on that tiny house is perfectly legal and perfectly fine. Bringing that tiny house to somewhere that's, not your property, or
that's even what you say is iffy. So, as far as our experience, as long as it's movable,
yeah, it's got to be on wheels.
You're not going to have building inspectors harassing you, pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, there's obviously restrictions about where you can have trailers in your yard and different.
It's all
like
different
that.
County to county.
Everybody's uptight. They're
making
look laws as fast as they can to try and stop you.
Yeah. You gotta look it up, or maybe plead ignorance. One of the two.
That's what you're doing. You're going ignorant.
Well, I'm not a lawyer. I can't advise anything, but be sure to do some research. It's something to look into.
And I would say, not inviting trouble is always a good way to go, and not having things out front where people are going to see it and say something might be a smart move on your part. But I'll let you guys sort that out for yourselves.
Yeah. Another thing, we talked a little bit about electricity. My house is wired to just plug in with an extension cord. Using LED lights definitely helps. You want to minimize electricity.
Everything was taken into account. We did an LED television, which, pretty common now. But, you really don't want to push your luck on the electric. Every light in the house is LED. Everything is really set up to be low watt.
Yeah. So you want to take that into consideration when you're doing it, especially if you're trying to have your tiny house / micro shelter to be off grid.
Go solar,
low
whatever.
wattage. That's going to be your best bet. And then that brings us to our next thing is solar. Solar is a big option that I would definitely use because in my personal experience, I didn't need to. I didn't go that path, but if that is definitely something I would if I was on my own property or in an isolated area.
What he's saying is if he had to pay the electric bill.
Yeah, then the sun gods are paying it, I'm just having the sun gods work my house. But yeah, so, I mean, we could talk, kind of the pros and cons that I've had so far in the tiny house, living there and everything. I mean, the pros, one, it's a shelter that you can move. So if you have to move it somewhere, you can. So that's a huge option, right? If you have to bring it somewhere, whether it be, out of necessity or if you just want to, that's great. It's compact, nice and small, and it's got everything that you need in there. It's got the basics on everything that you need. And then like some cons, it's like it is tiny. It's a tiny house, So when you got people in there, you could be stepping on toes. You could be stepping on toes, But I think this is a great option for if you're a single person or two people, like I said. I think it's not a bad way to go. It's cheap, and it's got everything you need, like I said. But another thing is, like, there's not a whole lot of storage in there. So if you have the ability to have, like, a storage shed along with this.
I think you're working against yourself here.
Well, I'm just saying.
All right.
In that shelter,
Less
there's not a whole lot of
So you're saying
space.
you need a shed for your guns.
Yeah. I mean, if you want
Right.
all that stuff, you want to have a little something extra somewhere else. But, I don't know. And then you need a truck is another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need a big truck
So
that's
what
going to be
he's
able to move
saying-
this house.
You should buy like a deuce and a half. That's a big truck, man size, whatever. And then load it with guns, and then you could sleep in the tiny house.
Yeah.
Okay. I could see how that could work. All right, not bad.
I mean, that's pretty much everything
Yeah.
that I have on tiny houses.
Now, so, I mean, basically, I like the tiny house. I like it's movable. It came with some headaches. I mean, it is kind of scary to be like, ooh, I have to move this one day. And I have to figure out how I'm going to do that. And kind of, I hope this trailer still passes inspection. Is nice over time. These things make you sweat a little bit at night, lose sleep. We worked it out. We're going to hopefully get this thing out of here one day. Ethan's going to move away into the sunset. But, who knows? But that's the thing is building a small shelter up at your survival cottage or wherever you want to go is not an impossible task. It's not hard to do. I mean, it is hard, but it's not unattainable. And these things are options. You don't have to buy the big property. And realistically, I look around, I see pretty good size, like 18-foot campers and things like that you can slip into for $800, $1,500 if you're really watching. If you're not like, I need one this weekend. If you spend 6 months looking around, waiting for the right thing, watching Craigslist, it's not horrible to go stay in a small, something. And if you could just get some land for cheap or something like that, you set up your nice, shooting range, whatever you need to do, go off grid, enjoy nature, start gardening, things like that. There's easy ways to ease into it. It doesn't have to be big mainstream, huge craziness, but whatever. So you guys need to decide what's right for you. And then basically once you focus on setting up the house, setting it up so that, you have the lifestyle ready to go that you're looking for. And then maybe then it's time to look into building the gun range is what I'm talking about. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Maybe, really work that garden, bring in some extra food. Then you're building houses and stuff for your buddies. All of a sudden it's cool. Everybody wants to hang out.
No. Commune.
commune.
Yep.
The chicks come out, they're all wearing sheets, whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
So
we're just saying it's not a bad option to have a secondary home that's ready to go, that if something happens to your normal house, you have something. You're not homeless.
It doesn't have to be what people think of with the tiny house movement, though. It could be a trailer or whatever. And these things can sometimes make it easy. Ethan talked about spending $10,000. $10,000, you can buy a pretty decent trailer and go set things up. But I also know that his house isn't going to blow away in a storm. The walls are more than a 1/4 inch thick. So, everything comes at a price.
It's exactly how I designed it and wanted it.
Clean and nice and custom.
Yeah.
So, everything comes, with an option. And obviously, you can get as grandiose or as
if you want to drop
fancy as
50
you
grand
do.
on your micro, tiny house, you can do that.
You can do that.
Get a loan? Sure.
Sure.
We don't recommend
make
it.
payments to the man. That could
That's
be you.
another thing. I mean, that is not something to,
No.
you can do it without having to take out a loan or whatever it may be. You can work on it, paycheck to paycheck, and then you just own it. You own this micro shelter,
I like that. Now, another thing is, now that you've freed up your cash because you don't have to pay for your house anymore because you're living in some kind of makeshift shed.
Yeah.
Now, there's something called Tac Pack, and they actually send you once a month this box filled with, I know this month, filled with AR-15 parts and gun cleaning stuff. And if you're able to free up your money so you can buy more guns, maybe binary triggers, maybe some thermal imaging scopes, that kind of stuff, I see things looking a lot better. So Tac Pack, they send you survival tactical stuff, very often gun related. And if you use the code BADASS, they're going to send you a gun cleaning mat that comes with it. Now, these guys, I just got mine for this month, and I'm super stoked. There's all kinds of badass things. Some kind of stealth buffer tube. I didn't even know that my gun was too noisy when I shoot it. And now, get out of here. Billet dust covers? What? I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know I needed to worry about those things. But what I can tell you is value, value, value.
Yeah,
I'm spending $50 and I'm getting like $200 worth of product.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, between the month of May and June, it's $305 worth of stuff.
So that's some serious product. So you may have missed May. It's too late for you. So sad. I'm sorry. But if you get hot right now, June is really on the up. And that's where some even more high dollar items are coming in.
If you have an AR, you want to hop on the Tac Pack train.
Hop on the Tac Pack. So I'd get excited about that. And that's really for your gunfighter. If you're not really the gun guy, probably not your thing. But if you're the gun guy, check out. They show some previous boxes. They show what type of gear you're going to get. And there's some pretty good stuff in there. And I think you're going to be excited. I'm definitely going to do a review and show you guys what I got in there this month, and you'll be able to check that out. Also, you may want to check out My Medic. You spend a lot of time at the gun range. You need to think about first aid.
You're trying to build a micro shelter?
Micro shelter. I know there were some bloody hands, nails going through things.
Splinters.
Maybe you need some tweezers. Well, My Medic's going to hook you up with 15% off. So mymedic.us. Otherwise,
you're going to use code BADASS for that one as well.
Code BADASS. If you want to tell Kevin about how you miss him and you wish he was here and you don't understand why Chuck's falling apart and everything's sad and crazy, well, you want to shoot him an email at preppingbadass@gmail.com. Otherwise, head over to our YouTube channel. Just search Prepping Badass. Or you can also make sure you guys subscribe on the iTunes. Maybe leave us a review. Share the love. And otherwise, stay safe. And we will talk to you next week.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.